Viewing guest. That's what the wristband said in bold pink letters, disbelieving. My mother leaned in with a smirk and whispered, "That means no food, sweetheart." A tremor of pain. I glanced around at the laughter, the catered tables, the dessert tower, and the way no one looked surprised. I had been marked different, quiet fury, so I walked to the gift table, picked up the envelope I brought. Inside was a $6,200 savings. Bond meant for my niece's future. Voice hardening, I slipped it out, left the empty envelope on the table, and walked straight out the door. Sister's voice in background. Why I to please? Don't go. With a hint of steel, I didn't turn back. Not this time. Selena had always been the quiet one, the dependable one. The one who made things happen in the background while others took the credit. As the eldest of three sisters, she naturally slipped into the role of the protector, the helper, the fixer. She designed the invitations for family events, edited resumes, paid for emergencies without being asked, and even babysat during her busiest design seasons. But none of that seemed to count. Not when it came to belonging the baby shower for. Her youngest sister, April, was supposed to be a moment of celebration. April, barely 26 and the golden child of the family, was having her first baby, and the event had been hyped for weeks. The entire family had been buzzing about it in the group chats Selena was often left out of until she was finally sent an invite a mere 4 days before the event. A generic digital flyer with cursive pink lettering and butterflies fluttering. Around a sonogram photo, she had paused when she saw the invite. It was cold. No personal note. No warmth. Just the logistics, date, time, venue. As if she were one of the distant cousins they only spoke to on holidays. She should have known then. But she told herself not to take it personally. Maybe they were just busy. Maybe April was overwhelmed. On the day of the baby shower, Selena arrived in a soft lavender blouse and clean black slacks. She had taken the time to design a custom illustrated baby book for April's unborn daughter, a labor of love that took her nights of work. She carried it gently in a matching lavender gift bag, her heart a mixture of hope and hesitation. The venue was a fancy event hall with balloons arching over the entrance and a floral sign that read, "Welcome baby Rosalie." Inside everything was pastel perfection rows of rose gold chairs, a candy station shaped like a carriage, and a photo booth corner decorated with baby onesies. She spotted her family quickly. Her mother, Marcia, was in a lilac wrap dress, holding a clipboard, and clearly relishing her role as the event orchestrator. April was seated on a throne-like chair surrounded by presents, looking radiant and smug. Her other sister, Mandy, hovering nearby like a loyal HANDMAIDEN. As Selena approached the check-in table, a young woman she didn't recognize looked at her wrist. "Hi, name? Selena Myers." "Oh." The girl smiled politely, then reached under the table and handed her a pink wristband. It said, in bold, sparkly letters, "Viewing guest." Selena stared at it, confused. What does this mean?" she asked, a half laugh in her throat. The girl blinked. "Oh, it means you're not part of the official family group. You'll be seated near the back, and viewing guests don't get food vouchers." "Sorry." Selena's breath caught in her chest. She waited for anyone to say it was a mistake, that it was a joke, that they'd given her the wrong band. But then her mother approached. Her perfect makeup unbothered, her smile sharp as a knife. "Oh, sweetheart," Marcia purred, eyeing the wristband as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "That means you're a guest today, not family. You understand?" April and Mandy decided only close family get the blue wristbands. Selena blinked. "Close family?" Her voice cracked. "Yes," her mother said. "That's how we're organizing the catering. You don't get food, but you're welcome to watch the festivities from the guest area. There's lemonade." A tremor passed through Selena's spine. She looked around, certain this had to be some twisted prank, but no one stepped forward. No one offered a correction. In fact, some of the guests nearby laughed, thinking it was just another one of those funny family moments. Selena's eyes darted to Mandy, who smiled awkwardly but didn't step in. April didn't even look up. She was too busy opening a gift and squealing over a baby blanket. For a moment, the noise around her became muffled, like she was underwater. The years flashed before her eyes, the times she took April to doctor's appointments because their mom was too tired. The holidays she worked double shifts so she could afford thoughtful gifts. The countless designs and logos she made for free when Mandy was starting her Etsy. The times she swallowed her own pain because there just wasn't room for her voice at the table. And now, at the very moment meant to celebrate new life and love and togetherness, her own family was publicly labeling her as less than a spectator. Not a sister, not a daughter, just a guest. She looked down at the wristband again, her pulse drumming in her ears. The words glared back at her, viewing guest. The pink glitter sparkled mockingly in the light. That was the moment it clicked. She had never been part of their version of family. She was just the one they called when they needed something, and now that they had everything they wanted, she was disposable. No plate, no chair, no acknowledgement. Selena swallowed the lump in her throat, tucked the gift bag back under her arm, and quietly turned around. She didn't cry. Not there, not in front of them, as she walked out. Not a single person stopped her, but the silence she carried with her. It was loud enough to echo for years. The drive home was a blur. Selena didn't remember much of the roads or the turns, only the stillness that stretched inside the car like a fog. No music, no tears, just silence. A deep, consuming silence that wrapped itself around her like a heavy coat. She gripped the steering wheel a little tighter than necessary, her knuckles pale against the leather. Her wrist, still marked faintly by the indentation of the pink viewing guest band, throbbed like a quiet bruise. She had removed it immediately after leaving the venue, tossing it into a trash bin outside a gas station like it was poison. But the sting lingered. As she pulled into her apartment complex and killed the engine. The weight of the day finally began to settle. Selena sat in the car, staring ahead blankly, her breath shallow. She wasn't crying. That would have been easier. No, what she felt wasn't sadness. It was something colder, older, something that had been growing for years in the shadows of her family's favoritism. She walked into her apartment without turning on the lights, letting the natural dusk soak the room in a blue-gray gloom. Everything was quiet, clean, still just like her life had always been, organized, controlled, dignified. But inside her chest, something was cracking. She walked straight to her bedroom, opened the bottom drawer of her desk, and carefully pulled out the slim navy blue envelope. Inside was a $6,200 savings bond she had been holding on to for months, something she had planned to gift April and her new baby. A generous, symbolic gesture, a contribution to her niece's future. An act of love. She stared at it now like it was a stranger. That bond had meant something once. It had represented her hope that maybe, just maybe, her family would finally see her. That they would appreciate her not for what she could give, but for who she was. She had imagined April opening the gift, shocked by Selena's kindness. Maybe even crying a little. She had imagined her mother saying, "Selena, you didn't have to do this," with a soft voice, maybe even regret in her eyes, but none of that had happened. None of it would happen. Instead, she had been branded a guest at her own sister's baby shower. Selena placed the bond on the desk and sat down slowly, her fingers brushing over the smooth paper. Her mind drifted back to every moment her efforts were dismissed every time she was told she didn't contribute like her sisters. How Mandy's tantrums were coddled and April's mistakes forgiven, while her accomplishments were ignored or reframed as arrogance. She thought of the times she'd paid for April's books in college when April had called her sobbing after maxing out her credit card. Selena had sent the money that night. No questions. No, think dash you dot. She remembered when their mom had nearly lost the house during the 2008 crisis, and she'd quietly wired over $3,000 without fanfare, pulling from her emergency fund. Months later, her mother told relatives, "Mandy saved us. She helped out with everything." Selena's just not the type to give back. The words still burned, her hand clenched into a fist. That $6,200, it was no longer a gift. No longer a plea for approval. It was hers, fully, finally. For the first time in years, Selena allowed herself to feel the sharp edge of her anger, not to suppress it, not to excuse their behavior, but to truly own it. She felt it crawl through her chest, uncoiling into something more useful. Something like purpose. If they wanted to cast her as the outsider, she'd take the role. But she'd rewrite the script. She wouldn't beg for belonging. She wouldn't prove her worth through sacrifice. Not anymore. From now on, she wouldn't offer silence to keep the peace. She'd build her life louder than their doubts. She'd create something so undeniable, they'd have no choice but to watch her shine from the guest section dot, and that would be their punishment. Selena was halfway through a glass of tea when the memory hit her like a slap across the face. It had been 5 years ago. A quiet Sunday brunch at their mother's house. The table was cluttered with syrup-sticky plates and half-drunk mimosas. Selena, ever the dreamer, had casually floated an idea. What if I launched a line of eco-friendly baby products? Like wipes, carriers, nursery prints. Stuff designed with parents and aesthetics in mind. There's a gap in the market. Her mother, sitting across from her with a fork in hand and a smirk on her face, didn't even pretend to consider it. She let out a breathy laugh, then said, You're not the type to build something that lasts, sweetheart. You get bored too quickly. Leave that kind of ambition to your sisters." At the time, Selena had laughed too nervously, like she hadn't just been gut-punched. She had swallowed the rejection like medicine. But now, sitting in her apartment, lit by a single lamp and humming with silence, the words echoed back with new weight. She wasn't the type. Her slow, knowing smile formed before she realized it. The kind of smile that curled up not from happiness, but from realization. Because while her family had spent years dismissing her, she had been building, quietly, consistently. She may not have posted glossy Instagram updates or thrown launch parties, but she had put in the work. The product ideas from that very brunch had stayed with her. They had evolved, refined, matured. And now, she owned 3 registered trademarks under her personal design umbrella. She'd even filed an LLC last year under a discreet but strategic name, Kestrel in June, and just last month, she'd signed on as a silent partner in a baby gear startup that was already turning heads for its sleek, ergonomic diaper bags and BPA-free accessories. She stood and walked over to her bookshelf, pulling out a thin black folder labeled Private Ventures. Inside were documents, ownership stakes, design sketches, market research, even a roadmap for expanding into influencer partnerships once the time was right. Then her phone buzzed with a new Instagram story. She opened it and saw April, beaming into the camera, her belly prominent under a soft pink dress. "Big things coming soon, mommies. I'm starting my own line of baby gear. Gonna launch with merch and expand to carriers, bottles, maybe even a buck." Selena's eyes narrowed. Slightly, she clicked through the next few stories. Mandy was tagging business handles, and then came the bombshell. we're pitching next week to this angel fund called Kestrel and June. They love mommy influencers and eco-friendly brands. Wish us luck." Selena nearly dropped her phone from laughing. They didn't know. They had no idea that the LLC they were chasing belonged to the same woman they branded a viewing guest. The woman they told didn't contribute. The sister they believed wasn't capable of building something that lasts. She set the phone down, her laughter fading into a sharp breath. This wasn't revenge. This was alignment they had drawn. The line between family and outsider, and Selena, now comfortably on the outsider side, realized she held keys to more doors than they even knew existed. She could say no to their proposal before they ever knew who said it. She could protect her brand, her investments, and her peace, all while letting them wonder why the opportunity dried up, because walking away wasn't enough anymore. Now it was time to close doors. They didn't know she built silently, deliberately, and permanently. Selena stood in front of her full-length mirror, smoothing the soft folds of her cream blouse. Her lipstick was understated, her curls pinned neatly back, her heels polished. She looked calm, composed, not a wrinkle in sight. But beneath the quiet poise, there was steel. She slid the envelope into her bag, the same one she had prepared months ago, back when she still believed she could earn their love with money. Inside was the $6,200 savings bond, a symbol of what she once thought would prove her worth. But it would serve a different purpose now. The baby shower was already in full swing when she arrived. Laughter filled the air, champagne flutes clinked, and the smell of catered food drifted through the open event hall. No one noticed her at first. Just another guest with a pink wristband, slipping in quietly. She didn't protest when the girl at the check-in table handed her the viewing guest band again. Didn't flinch. She accepted it without a word, wrapping it around her wrist with surgical calm. This time she wore it like armor. Inside, she moved through the space like a ghost, unnoticed, yet seeing everything. April was in the center, basking in attention, cradling her belly and cracking jokes about her future empire. Mandy hovered close, snapping photos for their shared influencer page. Their mother floated nearby, laughing loudly, playing hostess. With a practiced smile, Selena chose a seat in the back corner. She didn't mingle. She didn't smile. She listened as April bragged about her upcoming product line, about how she had a solid pitch for an eco-baby brand and some trademark stuff in the works. Selena's eyes didn't waver. She knew that every product April had listed, carriers, prints, even diaper bags, were already filed under Selena's brand. Kestrel and June had beat her to it, and her silent ownership meant that any legal overlap would be flagged. The silent trademark blocks were already in motion. Selena took a slow, steady breath. She watched as April opened gift after gift, the room erupting in applause and coos. She watched her mother beam with pride, watched Mandy tear up while filming on her phone. No one looked in her direction, not even a glance, and still she waited. Then came the perfect moment. April unwrapped a massive pink basket filled with luxury baby items and held up a tiny cashmere onesie. The room burst into claps and cheers. Selena rose. Her heels clicked softly against the polished floor as she walked to the gift table. The moment hadn't been staged for her, but she took it all the same. She reached into her bag and pulled out the envelope. Then she opened it. She slipped out the savings bond, held it for a beat, just long enough to feel its weight one last time, and then tucked it back into her coat pocket. Quietly, she placed the now empty envelope on top of the other gifts. It was still addressed in her handwriting. "To my niece, for the life you deserve." Inside, there was nothing. Just a blank card. She didn't leave a note, didn't cause a scene, didn't look back. Selena turned and walked toward the exit with the same quiet grace she had entered with. But this time, she wasn't walking away out of defeat. She was walking away with clarity, because the bond, the LLC, the trademarks, they weren't just paper, they were proof. She had built something that lasted, and they would only realize what they lost when the doors they needed most refused to open. The sun had dipped lower, casting golden streaks across the parking lot as Selena stepped out of the event hall. The air was still, heavy with fading laughter from inside. She walked slowly, her heels measured against the pavement, the envelope now empty in her coat pocket. Her chest didn't ache, her throat didn't burn. For once, she didn't feel invisible, she felt in control. Then came the voice. Selena, wait. It was April, breathless and irritated, her designer heels clicking wildly as she hurried across the lot. The ruffles of her baby shower dress fluttered around her legs as she caught up, a sheen of confusion and indignation on her face. Selena turned slowly, eyebrows raised, gaze unreadable. April stopped a few feet away, her expression caught between concern and condescension. What are you doing? Why would you leave like that? Did we say something wrong? Her voice was syrupy, but there was a crack in it, a hesitation. She was realizing something had shifted. Selena tilted her head, her smile cool and sharp. Oh, don't worry, she said, her voice dripping with irony. You won't need what I brought. You'll see soon enough. April blinked, thrown off by the calmness. Selena, come on. Why are you acting like this? It was just a wristband, okay? It was for seating. We didn't mean anything by it. You never do, Selena said, her voice now stripped of warmth. You never mean anything by the way you dismiss me, or how you act like I'm only useful when you need something. April folded her arms defensively, her belly rising with the gesture. This is supposed to be a happy day. You're making it weird. Selena gave a slow, deliberate nod. Exactly. It was supposed to be happy for me too. But you made that impossible. She stepped forward just slightly, her tone firm but eerily calm. You never saw me as part of this family, she said. So now I'm acting like I'm not. April's mouth opened, but no words came. There was something in Selena's eyes. She didn't recognize power, maybe, or the absence of fear. Selena leaned in, her voice dropping to a victorious whisper. You'll remember this moment, I promise. With that, she turned and walked to her car, the sound of her departure as decisive as the final page of the close. Look, she didn't slam the door. She didn't glance in the rearview mirror. She didn't need to, because by Monday morning, the first investor April had lined up for her brand reached out, politely withdrawing their interest, citing unresolved trademark conflicts. Hours later, another potential backer followed suit, concerned about legal complications with an existing parent company. The group chat that had ignored Selena's messages for years suddenly lit up. Panicked messages, accusations, confusion. Why? Is Kestrel and June rejecting us? Do you know anything about this? Selena didn't respond, but quietly. She checked her inbox and read the update from her attorney, confirming that the trademark disputes had officially halted April's proposed product names. They learned her name that week. In emails, in phone calls. And legal notices. They learned she mattered, but it was too late. Selena didn't need to argue. She didn't need revenge that shouted. She had simply removed her silence, and the world took care of the rest. Selena never posted about the baby shower. There were no cryptic Instagram stories, no Facebook rants, no screenshots of pink wristbands or passive-aggressive quotes. She didn't scream into the void or try to rally sympathy. That had never been her way. And now, she didn't need it to be. She had found something better. Peace. In the days that followed the confrontation, while her sister scrambled to salvage deals and her mother made whispered calls to relatives, asking if Selena had really meant to hurt the family. Selena simply moved forward. She took the $6,200 savings bond, once meant as a symbol of approval, and deposited it into her business account. She restructured her design schedule. She hired a consultant to help with early-stage logistics. And within a month, her soft launch began quietly, deliberately. It wasn't flashy. No bold announcements or influencer campaigns. Just a clean, thoughtfully crafted line of educational baby products, visual learning cards, story-based swaddles, ergonomic baby journals, all designed with intention, with care, with the same heart she'd always given to her family, now finally directed toward herself. And people noticed. Not the people who wore blue wristbands, perhaps, but the ones who mattered now: parents, teachers, pediatric therapists. Orders trickled in, reviews turned to reposts. Then came mentions in parenting blogs and design forums. Selena didn't attach her name to the face of the company. She didn't need the spotlight. Her influence grew in silence. As did her strength. Past. The storm around April's failed launch faded into whispers. The investor circle tightened. Kestrel and June's name became quietly respected, its products showing up in photos from real homes, real families. And then one morning, as Selena sat on her balcony sipping tea, her phone buzzed. It was an email from an old friend of Mandy's. Subject line, warm intro. The body of the email was simple. Hey Selena, hope you're well. I heard you may have connections to Kestrel and June. My cousin is working on a project for April's new content pivot, really sweet stuff. We think it could be a good fit. Any way you could help us get in touch would mean a lot. Selena stared at the screen for a long moment. She didn't reply. She didn't forward the message. She didn't even mark it unread. Instead, she set the phone down, leaned back, and let the corners of her mouth curl into a quiet, knowing smile. No speeches, no declarations, just a deep, undeniable satisfaction. They were knocking now on a door they never knew she built, and she wasn't bitter. She didn't need to be. She had already won on her own terms. Later that evening, she walked into her office, lit with soft amber light, and passed the framed quote on her wall. It was something her younger self had once written in a forgotten notebook, a mantra, greater than your silence is not your weakness. It's your power waiting to rise. She smiled again, this time with warmth. Because sometimes the best way to be heard is to say absolutely nothing. No justification, no revenge tour, just results. And if you've ever been excluded, mislabeled, or overlooked, remember this. You don't need to scream to be seen. Silence, when laced with strength, can echo longer than any apology. And Selena's silence, it had become a symphony. One only the deserving would ever hear. If you've ever been treated like the outsider in your own family, let them hear your silence. Comment, I'm done being polite. And don't forget to share, and subscribe for more true stories of strength and quiet revenge.